Hey, what's up again, guys? Today's video is going to be a follow-up to yesterday's video, which I actually posted today. And I don't know if I'll post this video today. Might be tomorrow. But anyway, it is a follow-up to the last video I made about the new style valve bodies that are on the Drost. Okay, let me explain. Yesterday, when I found out that we were only shooting 600 psi, I was thinking about that last night, and uh, just walk with me. Let me explain this. Okay, when I started off, when I went in to my back room, I turned on the gas, and the gas went up to 1200 psi. So I have a bleeder valve on the regulator. Let me flip you around. This bleeder valve will drain the air out of the hose. So anyway, this was off. I came in, I opened it up, and it jumped up to 1200 psi. And so to lower that down to 1000 psi, where it would consistently give me that, I can't remember if you tighten or loosen this, but you go one direction and it'll increase the pressure. You go the other and it'll decrease it. Anyway, I got it down to right around 1000, and I was using this to bleed the air off, and just watching it kind of bounce there at 1000. Now, I don't know how well I got that, seeing as how yesterday we were just down to 600 psi when we were doing the 10 art. So, to give the valve bodies, even though I've had problems with them in the past, to give the new ones the full benefit of the doubt, I'm going to make sure that we're running 1000 psi on here and switch everything over the high flow valve and to the new style valve body that was originally on it, and then we'll see if it functions properly. I don't have very high hopes for it because we started out yesterday shooting 1000 psi. You guys weren't in here for that, but that's what I was doing. But I don't know when it dropped down to 600 psi. So anyway, we're gonna get prepped, and I'll see you back here in just a minute. All right, we've got the old new valve body on here, and I have my doubts that this is going to work as well as the old new valve body, but we will see. And the test we're going here for, I need to align it, is 1000 psi. And for you guys who are new to this, 1000 psi, it's just a baseline. These guns can take a lot more pressure than that. I just like to use it as a baseline because it's not a whole lot of pressure. And yeah, I'm just shooting into a big pile of moving blankets. But yes, they can be made much more powerful with more pressure. And that brings me to the answer, sort of, to how fast do these things shoot. Basically, you pick a number and you keep messing with it until you hit it. The fastest I've shot one on video was like 1200 feet per second. But yeah, you got so many variables now. I often wonder, people who watch my videos might think that, I'm sure it's happened before, that I'm just working on a stock Blackbird, and then they get into theirs and they're like, this looks completely different. Yeah, because there's just so many variables that you can change to affect your velocity, voltage, um, valve, barrel length, barrel type, and each one of those variables acts upon the other ones in various ways. So I can't give you a straight answer of how fast they shoot. This gun, it's probably at 1,000 psi with that barrel on it. The way it's set up, it's probably shooting about 740, 750 with that little 400 millimeter barrel on 1,000 psi. If there are any welders out there or people who are just familiar with this type of regulator in general, please chime in and give me some pointers. I'm sure I'm not running this thing right, but the way I run it is, I will say I'm probably not going to stop running it this way either, so what the hell. The way I run it is, when I'm done with it, I shut this off, but I leave the line pressurized because I think it's like 50 feet, and I don't want to lose all of that gas. And normally what's been happening is this isn't holding its regular pressure. This will usually bleed down, but this, well, it might hold the pressure that I left it on, but when I turn this on, it might jump up a few hundred psi. So it's where we left it yesterday. Well, it's actually on 700 now. Anyway, let's turn this on, and we'll just see where it ends up. So it's at 900, and I feel confident that it'll stay there when we shoot, but we'll just dial it up to 1,000. We'll shoot, and then we'll come back and check it. Can't remember which way. There we go. Okay, so we're right at 1,000 now. So let's do a little bit of shooting and see if the valve body will work now that we're sure we're on 1,000 psi. I'm going to go ahead and set you guys down here while I get the gun set up. Yeah, I should have had that done, but whatever. My beautiful tin art. We're going to go with the same pulse as yesterday. Also, yeah, when I'm shooting back here, I am usually using the lowest possible pulse that I can. It just all has to do with, saving air and making sure it'll get down to the minimum values. So it's very inconsistent. Let's go check our pressure. And what we're going to do, we're still on 1,000 psi. We're going to bump it up some to see if that helps him move out of there. But yeah, as far as it working, let's just go up to 1,500. See if that knocks him out of there any better. But there's a couple other things that I'll get into a little bit later. That's smoking them in there. Let me go up to 4K. Same pulse. Well, I'll just have to see if the customer wants the old new valve body or the new old valve body. Okay, well, I'm glad I came in and figured that out before completely condemning the new valve bodies. I can see where that could give you some problems shooting CO2, but then again, my builds won't work off of CO2, so if you're using CO2, you're not going to have anywhere near the same clutch pressure. I just about forgot. We need to go check the pressure. I heard it hissing, so I've already been back here, but I didn't adjust anything. Sometimes it'll creep up just a little bit. Once this hose, it'll expand just a hair after you adjust it. So it didn't move for all intents and purposes during that test. Now I'm betting if I were to shoot this until the pressure went out of it with that new valve body, it would stop maybe somewhere just north of 800, I'm imagining. Okay, if you're having that issue and you have one of the newer valve bodies, there are a couple of remedies for it. I'll talk about the first one first. How about that? And that would be BB centering. And if you've been with me for a while, you know that I've had bad luck with BB centering in the past, and for me it's caused more problems than it's worth. Up until a couple of weeks ago, and you don't know about that. You see, Freebird now has BB centering standard in it, and the reason for that is it wasn't a problem, but I just suspected that it could be a problem in the future. So, and I think it was a problem for me because I did like a 30,000 or 3,500 psi test and my valve body didn't work right after that. And what I determined was that there was wear in the valve body from BBs rolling out of it. And so that's when I was experimenting with BB centering, and it completely failed. All right, well, I mentioned this to Russell and friends, and I had a way that I wanted them to solve it, but they didn't want to go that route, and they're like, oh, we'll surprise you on how we're going to fix it. So they gave me BB centering. With that tan gun, that was one of the biggest issues holding me up because BBs were getting stuck behind the set screw that's supposed to hold it center in there. So I thought about it, and I finally decided, well, what if we take the set screw and screw it in upside down? How would that do? It seems like it would work fine. Well, I did, and it works absolutely fantastic. Let me get a set screw in case you don't know what one looks like. Yeah, these are the size we're using, and there's the top where your Allen wrench, key, whatever you want to call it, would go in, and there's the bottom. So there is enough of a cone there to catch a BB, but if it doesn't catch it and it winds up behind it, it's not going to fire. It's just going to be locked up like a couple of dogs. So flipping it upside down, it's got a bigger cup to catch it in, and it really does catch them very nicely and holds them there. So that is one of the features, new features in Freebird. Now, to my knowledge, nobody's ever turned one of these upside down in their BB centering or a Drost. Now, theoretically you would have the same effect, and I don't think I've ever heard of that specific problem happening in a Drost, but it certainly wouldn't be a bad idea for BB centering to have it in there upside down. And when I do BB centering, when I've done it in the past, the way I will set it is it'd be kind of a little bit more difficult with it upside down, because the way I set it is I drop a BB down in there to where it's held upside down in the pocket, and I've got the screw run down so the BB can't come out. And then I just loosen it up until the BB falls out, and then it's set. But with it upside down, yeah, I'm not looking for dead on center. I don't look for that in BB centering, because I'm looking at it as something to be there to give reliability, because I've already tested it and I didn't get any more velocity gain from it like some people claim. But from a reliability and functionality standpoint, that's how I'm looking at it. So if you had it mounted upside down in there, what you would have to do is have it up far enough so the BB couldn't pass out, and put your BB in there and just loosen it a little bit, see if it falls out, loosen it a little bit, see if it falls out. You're going to have to take the BB out every time so you can get down to the top of the set screw that's in there upside down. And then when you finally get it, you might want to fine tune it and back it off a little bit, or tweak it just a little bit. That's how you would do that. And if you had enough room, you might not have enough room in these Drost bodies, but what we do in here, because we have plenty of room, is we'll put a set screw in on top of it. So you've got the two screws meeting like that, so they're not going anywhere. But on a Drost, if there's not enough room to do that, you could certainly use some, I wouldn't say use red Loctite, I'd say use blue Loctite. Make sure it's nice and shook up, make sure all that's clean, very clean. Use some acetone before you do it. Make sure you get it on the threads. The other way, I'm going to get you guys in close. I may have done a video on it. If I can find it, I'll link it in the description below, because if I did, it'll show you how the JB Weld reacts, but I'm not going to actually do it this time. Alright, what this one is you put a magnet into the pocket where you have an excessively deep pocket, like with the new style valve bodies. And I think these are the smallest magnets that you can get, but this is what they are. And these are the N52s. You can find them in the, I think, N48 strength. That's where you get them from, and that's what they are. What you want to do is you get one. Well, as far as the prep work, what you need to do is get like a Q-tip or something and get in there and clean that out real good with acetone. You can't clean it good enough. And then maybe soak it in some clean acetone. You want that completely, that pocket, anything around it that your JB Weld is going to touch completely free of grease. And get your JB Weld mixed up. You need a something non-magnetic to move your magnet around with. I use a toothpick. When I have one. And first, what you're going to do is you're going to coat. Oh, there we go. Coat this in a little bit of JB Weld before you get your magnet in there. And then once you've got a little bit of JB Weld on there, you want to slide your magnet into it, dead center, and it fits in there really nicely. And at this point, the magnet is going to start interacting with the JB Weld. And what it'll do is the JB Weld will move into the field lines of that magnet and give you a little cup. And it's perfect for holding a BB there. And it just so happens that most of the time that it will give you a perfect center. But what you also want to do at this point, after you've pushed it in there into the JB Weld that you've already got, touching the surface, the base of that, just take your time and get it in there right in the middle. And it'll start to pull that JB Weld up around it. And then you want to just take another, get some more on your toothpick and go in there and just kind of fill in. And the magnet will perfectly shape everything in there. If you do it right, you will not blow it out. And if you do blow it out, what you can do is take your valve body off, soak it for several days in antifreeze. It won't melt the JB Weld, but it'll get it soft enough to where you can get in there with a pick and pick it out. Now, I need to get better eyes on this, so I'm going to get it in the center and then show you what it looks like with the BB on it. So that actually does work really well. Now, the reason I don't do this, don't offer it, is because there's the possibility that it could last 100 rounds or, never come out of there. And the reason that I don't do the BB centering with the set screw is I've got the drill press. I could do it with the drill press, but I don't have the tap to do it. I actually broke my tap in one of these aluminum valve bodies trying to thread it for a customer who sent his Freebird in for just kind of working it over. He ran it. He actually did run. Finally ran into that problem yesterday's video with the broken breech. That was his gun. So over time, the aluminum did wear, and he got about 86,000 rounds out of it. So I just decided to give him BB centering. I've got it all done. There was another issue with the display, and it started flickering, so I'm probably gonna have to replace that. Anyway, I'll be posting about that when I get that all squared away. But yeah, I hope that helps somebody. All right, guys. Until then, later.